Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robin Jellis. I'm the editor of TV Sports Markets. For the next 20-30 minutes or so, we'll be talking about the OTT delivery of sport across Asia. We're going to be talking for kind of 20-25 minutes or so, and then there'll be 5 or 10 minutes of questions at the end. I'll introduce you to the two panelists. We've got two excellent panelists this afternoon. So on my left, we have John Gleaser, the Chief Commercial Officer of DAZN. And on my right, we have Marcus Luer, the founder and CEO of TSA, who's recently launched SportsFix, a new OTT service in Malaysia. So starting with you, John, in the last 14 or 15 months, you've launched your DAZN service in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Japan as well, and most recently in Canada. Just wondered if you could talk us through the kind of main processes involved in the launch of these services and kind of what the biggest challenges that you've had to deal with.
Thanks, Robin. Well, obviously, you've got to build a platform. The most important thing is, building a platform and a scalable platform. In terms of the investment that we've put in, it's been over 3 years, that it took from inception to actually delivery, from the idea. And, we made the decision to build our platform in-house, working with third parties, which, really believe was the right decision. But it is a huge investment that you're putting into the platform. And, you're talking about delivering across all the, when we say platforms, it is mobile, it is console, it is TV, it is PC, it's across all IP devices. So, that's obviously a strand that is really important. We were quite fortunate in terms of performance because we had invested over the last 7-8 years was the integration of our data, our editorial, our video in our own cloud-based service, which honestly I don't believe we could have done what we have done without having done that investment as well over the years. So our kind of core technology within the business, plus then the front end and back end was a major development for us. And then when you're looking at which markets you go into, and that's it's the rights availability and the timing of doing that. So those were some of the key elements. But also for us it was very much we were a D2C company as well as being a B2B. But when you're going looking at customers, consumers, subscribers, again, that's a different mindset, and it's a different mindset, and the people that you need in the business and the tools around that you need.
And moving on to you, Marcus, SportsFix will probably be a little bit less well known to people in the audience because you're a newer service. I just wondered if you could kind of talk us through the business plan and why you chose to launch the service.
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I think we, like everyone in the industry, realized probably a couple of years back that OTT, or the delivery directly to consumers via multiple devices, is probably the future. And I think if you look at any of the magazines which are flying around at this conference here, it's pretty much every one has a headline which says OTT or the OTT. So we figured that out a while back as well. So we're not quite 3 years into the process, but in earnest we probably started 18 months ago plus. We launched about 2 months back now with our first platform in Malaysia. We integrated with one of the largest telco operators in the marketplace. So we don't have, unfortunately, the firepower and the money as our friends from Perform have. So we've had to do these things a lot more, I think, maybe in a completely different scale and think through it in a very different way, and that maybe could fit well for others who don't have that same sort of firepower as Perform. So what we did is basically a couple of things. One, we outsourced most of our technical side of it. There are plenty of good companies out there who can do the job. In our case, we worked with Bright Cove and with Aceto, different parts of the puzzle. We launched with a web platform first. The actual apps are being built right now. That's another interesting debate people should look at. Do you really need an app, or does the web platform work? Again, it depends a bit on your audience, who you're going after. So that was a debate we had, and we started with the web. That is faster, quicker to actually get in the marketplace. But it's a web-enabled, it's a mobile-enabled app, a web platform. That's what I mean. So it is really driven towards your phone. The screen, everything, the way it appears is very much focused. So for us, John mentioned earlier, they're building a platform which goes everywhere. For us, it's the mobile phone. That's it. We don't truly, basically, we don't, in a sense, some degree, we don't care that much about the rest of it. Why? The part of the world we're targeting has 800 million phones for 600 million customers, or 600 million people living there. About half of it, close to 400 million, are web-enabled or smartphone-enabled. So there is a large enough audience base there. I don't need to really worry about who has a smart TV or who uses a PlayStation box or an Apple box. So. For us right now, it's all driven through telco integration. So we built the platform, outsourced that. TSA as a company, we come from the content space. So for 20 years, we've been trading rights in this market here. So I think our 18th year in SPORTEL. So we do understand how to buy content, what content is available, what content makes sense. So we went after what I would consider long-tail content, niche content for our part of the world. So we're not trying to buy the Premier League and go straight with the most expensive product there is in the market. We literally went all around and we looked at what are the traditional pay operators are offering, and to some degree the free operators in our market, and bought everything else which is there, but which has large niche audience. So I'll give you one real example. In Malaysia, we have between 4 to 5 million Indonesian workers living in Indonesia. What do we buy? The Indonesian Football League. If you're an Indonesian worker in Malaysia, that's your fix. That's why we call it sports fix. You get your daily fix of sports. So that's what we went after. We have Indonesian football, we have Filipino basketball, we have Bangladesh cricket, all niche audience, but large enough. We talk millions of people in our part of the world who would fit that. So we're going after the displaced fan. That's, let's call it the lowest hanging fruit was in our part of the world. So that allowed us not to going out and having to invest millions and millions of dollars into the most expensive content to start with the platform. But like you do in the tech world, you have to build your proof of model, right? And that was really what we went after. We wanted to show the format works, the concept works, the platform operates. And the second piece or the third piece to the whole puzzle is the integration with telco. So for us, the telco is the reach into the end consumer. So we would call ourselves the B2B2C business, basically, right? So it's really the model, the B2B model is with telco operators. So by the end of the year, we'll be integrated with all major telcos in Malaysia, which gives us a reach to 35 million phones for 30 million people. So like I said, there's always a bit more than one phone in a market, in a sense, right, per person. Then we will roll that out. We'll go into the next countries, etc. But that is where I think our approach is somewhat different and maybe more cost effective, or not going to say cost effective, but it's maybe more affordable for others as well to do it that way.
And just touching on the content acquisition there that you mentioned, you're going after kind of lower tier rights and obviously paying less for them. How challenging is that for you as the platform to encourage people to pay for that content? How difficult is that going to be?
Well, if you're Indonesian and I deliver your local football league, which is your #1 league, it's not hard, right? Because you're outside the country, you are a displaced fan, the same way I'm German living in this part of the world where I am. I like Fox, because they deliver my Bundesliga to me. So, but that is only recent. I mean, I go 5-6 years ago, it was quite hard to find the match I was looking for. So if I had a platform like what we're delivering now, I would pay for it without even blinking. So it's not about how many Malaysians watch the Indonesian Football League. I'm targeting 4 million Indonesians living in Malaysia, right? And that is what we're constantly doing. We're just finding one niche after the other. Fans who do not have access to their content, fans who are, in a different part of the world, the best of the world, they might find some illegal stream. It will clearly not be on a traditional platform, and therefore I'm delivering their killer content. Even though it is a niche content in that part of the world or in that country itself, it is about as killer as you get for them themselves.
And John, just coming back to you, DAZN operates at a very different end of the scale to SportsFix in terms of the content you are going after. In Japan, you did your 10-year deal for the J-League. I just wanted to ask you how important that deal was for the Japanese business, and more widely, kind of how much of an importance do you place on acquiring premium content in each of your markets?
Yeah, I think for us, it's very much been an evolution in terms of the content that we've gone after. I think when 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, was J-League, in our plans? No. But as you get to know the market even more, you see the opportunities, and we saw an opportunity there with the J-League, and in terms of, very much just for us, you know, that we wanted to look at a partnership type structure to look over a long term to really evolve that league, to engage with a younger audience. I think that was very important for the league. You know, that when you're looking at traditional pay TV, it's very much an older audience, and you know, there is this displaced audience that, you know, where are they consuming, and what are they consuming? And you know, I think piracy is prevalent in a lot of areas, and you have to give a legal alternative to them that is of a quality and a price. So but yeah, for us, J-League was you know, instrumental in terms of the growth as well. Obviously, around the same time we announced our relationship with Docomo in the marketplace as well. But also, I think it's when you look at on a broader level, in say, you know, the national consciousness as well of us as a service in that marketplace, and you know, and it's the opportunity where this can take us. And yes, it was a big investment, but it's a long-term investment, and you know, we've already seen very strong uptake in that content and what it's delivering for our platform, and we see huge upside as well in what that will deliver through.
And this year you've launched in Canada. You recently acquired the CONMEBOL rights in a joint venture with IMG, and a few people have since speculated that there might be a launch in Latin America, kind of on the cards. I just wondered if there's anything you could say about the kind of the future plans in terms of launches for DAZN.
We're constantly looking at other markets, but no, there is no connection between that CONMEBOL acquisition and, you know, DAZN launch in those markets. That is a specific acquisition, you know, for with IMG, you know, for the driving the growth of CONMEBOL across the globe, and that's you know, it's a very separate team that will be managing and that whole process. So no, it's you know, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 in this way.
And Marcus, on the topic of launches, you've initially launched in Malaysia, and I understand you plan to roll out the service in a number of Southeast Asian territories, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Singapore. I just wondered if you could kind of explain, go into a little bit of detail really, as to how the service will be different in each of these markets. Will you have different costs in each of the markets? Will you have different content?
Yeah, absolutely. As much as there is some common thread between all those markets, and that is, and to some degree, is football is king in all those countries, outside of the Philippines where it's basketball. So there is certain content we buy on a pan-regional level, which means, you know, we believe it is of use in each country, and then we buy specific content for each individual market, and that does vary from Thailand being, you know, a different market than Indonesia is. We are doing similar things what, you know, somewhat Perform has done in Japan, where we are starting to look at local content as well, whether it's local football, local basketball, local whatever is important in the marketplace. That's a natural evolution, of course, and similar what John just said, going in there, and if you see the opportunity and you get in there now, then we will do this for sure. There's no doubt about it. So we are, you know, we have a big chart, and it shows in detail what we are going in with each market, and it is very different, and I couldn't really reveal that obviously here now, but what we are doing in each market, we're coming in with a partnership as well. We're not necessarily rolling in there just by ourselves. We're teaming up with a local partner who will bring local relevance, local assets, local, you know, knowledge to the party. That's normally not a telco. The telco really is our partner in that sense as a delivery mechanism, but not necessarily as an equity or partner in the business itself. So, but it's media houses or media, you know, companies related to the media industry. The language is of course important as well. Each market has its own language. What we currently do is we deliver the content from the home market in its home language. So if it is Indonesian football, it comes in Bahasa Indonesia. If it is the Korean Football League, it is in Korean, because that's the audience we're going after. We're not targeting, in a sense, directly the local market. But that is also just really, you know, 1.0 level, you know, 1.1 already will see additional language elements to it. There's some unique technology out there which you can have user-generated voiceover now. We are working with those guys, and by hopefully the end of the year we have incorporated that. So anyone who follows Twitch, the esports platform, they do it, or they use it quite heavily already. So we will have that as well. So we will create the new voice-over talents and not hiring traditional talent for that. So those are all elements we feel, again, creates a completely different engagement with the user. It allows for an interactivity which traditional television can't do.
And you mentioned there your partnership with Cellcom, the local telecommunications company. I just wondered if you could go into a little bit of detail as to why you chose to partner with them, what exactly they do to help you and your business, and in terms of your future, are you looking to work with other telecommunications companies in Malaysia and the other markets as well?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we signed up with Cellcom, which is in Malaysia. You have 3 leading telcos, which pretty much split the market in a third each. So roughly, they own 1/3 of the marketplace. By the end of the year, we'll be incorporated with all 3 others as well. So we have 100% penetration across all the platforms. And that's interesting because telcos still operate in most cases in a non-exclusive environment. So they don't, not different than maybe the TV world we all live in. They're quite happily to work non-exclusively and create different bundling packages. So in the telco world, the way we operate, it's called hard bundled, soft bundled, and a few other things in between. What does that mean? It either means they have a service which they're offering. Let's say $10 a month for your subscription or for your certain amount of data and voice and roaming, etc. And within that package, we're integrated as well. So you get either a sports fix in it for free. That would be a hard bundle deal with the telco. So the telco pays us, and then they pass it on as a service to the customer. A soft bundled version would be that the customer has to pay over and above it. So you come to our website or you come to our platform, and you are a certain customer from a certain operator, you would see, if you now want to buy this, you pay X dollars for it. The other thing, which is, I think, somewhat different than a lot of the other platforms currently out there, we go after our market in what we would call a sachet billing model. So you pay $1 for a week of sports on our platform. Why is that? If I could charge more, of course I would charge more. The reason is very simple. Our part of the world is a prepaid phone market, not a postpaid market, which means people go once a week, twice a week, maybe several times during the week, and top up their card. So their wallet size within their phone, there's a limit, and the average in Malaysia, just to be one number, is about 15 ringgit Malaysian. That's, let's say, $4, $3.50 maybe US dollar terms. So if you're trying to charge them $5, it will never go through because no one has that much money on their card, basically, right? So you have to go and you have to look at it. In Indonesia, which is a much bigger market, obviously, the wallet size is even smaller. So that dollar figure is the sort of figure we believe works. It fits that market. It fits the dynamics. It's small enough where maybe you don't buy the cup of coffee in a sense, but you buy yourself a round of sports fix and you can watch all your football that weekend long. So there are different price points, there are different strategies behind it. The telcos like us out of a very simple reason. The telco business over the years, I'm not sure anyone in the telco industry is here, they're a traditional model which selling us voice and SMS services. It was like selling drugs to us. Their margins were huge. I mean, really ridiculously high. That's all gone. No one calls me on a normal phone anymore. Everyone uses WhatsApp and WeChat and Line and you name it. So that business has collapsed completely. And most of telcos operators, that was probably 60% of their revenue. So the only thing they can do is push heavy data now. Now, the heaviest data in the world is live content, and that's what we deliver, right? So when I go to a telco operator and say, would you like some live content? I'm not sitting in front of someone who goes, no, come and, I don't want to talk to you. It's a very easy discussion. We need them as much as they need us. I think that's the beauty of the relationship.
And John, you guys have a similar relationship with the telco in Japan. You have a relationship there with Docomo. Just wondered if you could explain why you chose to work with them specifically, and again, similarly to Marcus there, just explain what the relationship is, how it works.
Sure. Docomo has 71 million customers. They had 16 million content customers, so i.e. signed up to various subscription services. But they didn't have a sports service. And so for us, it was a very natural choice, to go with them in terms of their market penetration. Also, we were looking to launch our brand, and grow our brand. They have 2,600 stores across Japan. It immediately gets you into the consumer. Most of their customers will come in 3-4 times, a year. So there's a regularity of going through. They're also moving from being mobile broadband into fixed broadband. They were going to pay TV. They had 6 million pay TV homes as well. So, you know, across all of the relevant areas for us, it was a very natural choice. But at the same time, you know, the relationship is not that we are exclusive to them in terms of the marketplace. We want to be ubiquitous. We want wherever the user, you know, however they want to consume it, they can consume it that way. So whether it is on TV, whether it's mobile, but it was the means of access for them to becoming a subscriber, and how they drove through. So, you know, it is, you know, we can see how driving someone from being a mobile user to actually using it on a big screen, what that does in terms of retention. And because actually the more you watch on a big screen, the more you will stay as a subscriber. So that is very, very important as well. So it's like for us, you know, they've been a great partner, and you know, we're just, you know, a year in now in terms of that. When we look at the volume of subscribers that, you know, they're driving through into us, you know, it's impressive. You know, look at the engagement, etc. All of the key metrics that we look at in terms of the evaluating, you know, how effective, you know, we are being with those subscribers. And so, you know, yeah, we're very, very happy in terms of where we are with that relationship and looking at how we grow it more. But as I say, it is important that, you know, we still want consumers to be able to, you know, if you're a SoftBank, if you're a KDDI in that marketplace, that you can still, you know, you're still using our service.
And then that leads me on to my next question. What can you say, appreciate it's difficult to discuss, but what can you say about your subscriber numbers at the minute in Japan?
You always ask me that one, Robin, always. I think we announced a few months ago in terms of that we'd been over 1 million users across Japan, and we've had over, you know, since the start of the new football season in terms of Germany, Austria, Switzerland, we had, you know, huge growth there. You know, it's been great. So we're really, really happy in terms of our sub levels. And similarly in Canada, we've, you know, actually from a subscriber level was really, really strong. I think, but what's also important is when you're looking at engagement levels and how regular people are coming onto the service, how regularly they're using the service. And for us, that's, you know, very, very strong. So in a similar way to, as Marcus was saying, that some of the content that we, you know, people will have looked at was, is it niche content, you know, for those marketplaces? Well, you know, I think the key element for us is our marketing ability and our ability to target those customers and drive them onto and become subscribers and retain them. And, you know, and how they become advocates as well for your service, because that's, you know, that's very, very important for us to get. It's, you know, advocacy, you know, we live in the world of Twitter and, you know, there's immediate reaction to whatever happens. But, you know, and that can be positive and negative, but actually that, you know, it does create, you know, it's the tipping points. You saw that with pay TV, you know, 20 years ago. I was, you know, worked at Sky, and, you know, you saw that, you know, you've seen the huge growth there in terms of pay TV and penetration there. And you know, I think that's where tipping points will come. You've seen it with Netflix as well in that way.
Marcus, it hasn't been so long since you guys launched, but what can you tell us about how your subscriber numbers are doing at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, we won't talk specifics here, as you rightly said, we are still new. But we see the pickup. It's happening. It's people are engaging. You know, we're monitoring. That's the beauty of the OTT world. You actually have real numbers. It's not just some Nielsen ratings which says how many people maybe watched it, right? So we have really data. We can analyze it and adjust from there. So that's important, and it's I think it's the important the difference to, again, the linear TV world. The way we look at it and the way we're driving it, we're going both from a digital, i.e. social media platform targeting, so we're going into the Facebooks. We have the Bangladesh Cricket League. They have about 13 million followers globally on their Facebook following. We can pull out, together with our partner, of course, those customers who are in our part of the world. So we're targeting them very specifically now at the moment. The Bangladesh Cricket League is starting very soon, the BPL there. So we target basically making sure that everyone who is following him on their Facebook platform and lives in Malaysia or lives in the countries where we're operating is aware of it. So that's from a, let's say, the social, digital strategy point of view. On the other end, we're literally, as we speak today, well, not anymore right now, it's a bit late, but we have people on the street, old style sandwich boards, and you name it, in the areas where these workers and where the people run around, walking around with flyers, walking around with billboards, so to speak, and helping and educating that audience. So again, when you have these niche audience and you know where they are, it's not that hard to do. Right? And again, the Bangladesh community has a specific part of the neighborhood where they hang out. And every shop, every place there, we engage. We're obviously engaging through our telco partner as well, so they walk around next to us and offering their services. And so we're coming really from both levels. So it is truly a ground war and a, let's call it, air war in a sense of hitting them from in their social media space, educating them there, bringing the brand in front of them, but then really being in front of them there, when they walk around the street almost.
And one other question I've got for you, John, is about one of your rights holder pot mechanism specifically. So this is where, for properties where maybe you don't want to pay a guarantee, you offer this to rights holders. I just wondered if you could say kind of how receptive rights holders have been to that, how useful that's been in your discussions with them.
Yeah, it's a mechanism to reward viewing. So the viewing time of that partner against the total viewing time, and we pay that out. It came from, we looked at the models that are being used across other areas. So Spotify, this is a model that they used in the music industry, and it's been very, very successful for the labels. Anyone, well, 20 years ago, I worked in the music industry, and we were talking about it last week. They used to pay $14.99 for a CD. That was, so 20 years ago, it's $14.99. You go into a store now, not many people do buy CDs, but most, number one will be $8.99, $9.99 in the UK. So, there's not many products that have gone down in price in real terms. And the reason for that is because streaming services now account for almost 50% of the revenue. And it is the fastest growing element for that industry. And actually, when you look over the last 20 years, the music industry is now almost caught back to where it was in terms of top line revenue. And that is because of Spotify being, 50 million, 60 million paying subscribers now. So, that model we work, really well for that. And so for us, we felt it was a model that we could bring into the sports industry, and that it would work for a lot of partners. And I think what we have seen is that there were some partners really understood that. Some rights holders and federations saw it, not just niche, but actually some major rights holders, global rights holders. And why did they see it? Because yes, there is often a guarantee that we're paying, but actually it was the potential for the upside. And how could we convert that audience? How do we market? How do we engage? How do we bring them in? And therefore, what percentage of their viewing they would do. And so, a year in, there is some really interesting takeouts in terms of the data, what the data's throwing through. And I'm a big believer for it, both for big rights holders, but also for niche rights holders. A good example was we did Champions Trophy this summer, in Germany, and everyone looked at us and said, "Why are you buying cricket for Germany? Why are you doing it?" But exactly what Marcus was saying. Well, there is a big expat audience, and it's if you're from the Indian subcontinent, that whether you're first, second, or third generation, that's your sport. And they've never been catered for, or maybe they have been catered for in pirate. They've had to go to piracy, or they've had to, ripping off, whether it's Star, etc. We're given a legal alternative, and you know what? People came on, and they came on, and they engaged, and it was really, really strong. So I think whether you're big or you're small, we're very open to looking at that. We want to target all, lots of verticals. It's not just about the big football or US sports. It is about the the rugbies, the crickets in some of these marketplaces as well. Because I agree with, in markets, you can target them. You can target them very effectively now through digital marketing. And again, that's the infrastructure that we've put in place to be able to do that effectively and cost effectively.
We're coming up to half an hour, so I thought I'd open it up to the audience. Do you have any questions from anyone? No, we don't. Oh, one over here. It's on the side.
I just wondered really how the new OTT broadcasters are trying to deal with challenges on mobile. Because obviously it is much easier to watch a football match, for example, on mobile, where you just click on an app as opposed to loading up your desktop, opening a web browser, searching for it, etc. But when I watch football on mobile, there's other things that come with that, in the sense that I have to watch it full screen, even then it's not a big screen. I can't do other things on my phone at the same time. Or if I'm not at home, do I want to use up my data on this? How much can I watch it? So I just wonder, really, because obviously this is a challenge that the linear guys don't really have. So I just wondered, how do you guys really try and tailor your events to mobile, and how do you try and overcome those challenges?
Who wants to take that one
on? Mobile's a key platform, absolute key platform, both in acquisition and engagement and usage. We have native apps as well as in terms of in terms of browsing as well. For us, actually, what's been really interesting is the engagement around the native apps and the power equally of the platforms, whether it's iOS or Android. But in terms of, we recently launched our native app with Apple, and it's been for us a huge success. And we spent a lot of time in really refining, working with Apple to create the best user experience we could. And you see the reaction from the user, because it's how many stars do you get? What is your ranking? And your ranking actually then very much drives what the marketing they will do behind it. It's not always about the content, it's about the experience you're giving to the user. And so it's, mobile matters, but a lot of the time I watch DAZN actually on my mobile, and I'm coming in and I put AirPlay, and I go onto AirPlay, and giving that seamless connected experience is, I don't know how many people use it or whether they use Chromecast, etc. But it is a seamless technology and a seamless user experience, and that's what users want. That's what our customers want. And so I think mobile has a huge place to play. We've seen it in consumption. We've seen how you deliver different content as well. So maybe sometimes you deliver a short form highlight as well as delivering the whole live game on demand, because different platforms will engage in different ways. So yeah, mobile has a huge part to play, not just in acquiring subscribers, but in terms of that engagement.
Just to add maybe a few thoughts to it. Number one would be, from where we come from, the mobile device is your first screen. We don't see it as a second screen app, maybe how a traditional platform operator would look at it. So for us, it is your first screen. I'm sure if I would ask around the room how many times you look at your phone, the average I've heard is somewhere between 150 to 200 times a day. So there's nothing comes anywhere close to it, not even your wife probably, or your husband. So the point is, it is, as much as, yes, it's a different type of viewing, and we all appreciate that. I think pretty much all of us by now, I think, have experience watching a sporting event on our phone, and it's actually not a bad experience in most cases. Even though we still don't film it specifically for that platform, we still film it for a big screen in a sense, so therefore there's better ways to do it probably. The experience is not bad at all. You don't even need HD. The quality is good enough, and if you try to pump HD through it, a lot of times you can't do it because the bandwidth would be too high. So for us, it's almost the traditional TV is a second thought. It comes way down the line for us. It is everything we do, and a bit like what you said earlier. our app, and as well as once it's out, as well as currently the platform, we are integrating additional elements. You would have chat opportunities in it, so you can do chat while you're watching. You can go replays. You can do also stuff again which you can't do. The trick, what we really believe is where OTT is taking sports now, is that we're putting you into the driver's seat in terms of how you want to watch. So if you need to go to the bathroom and you need to stop and there's a live game going on, in theory you can do that with us now, right? And you can continue live as live for you. And you can jump back in there and go, jump 10 minutes ahead of it. Same thing, you want to watch the replay 10 times because the goal was so beautiful, or that red card you still believe isn't right. You can do this. A traditional linear TV shows you that twice, and there's a director in a studio who makes that decision. We want to put you in charge of it, right? And so I think it's going completely away from comparing traditional television, traditional linear TV with OTT. That's really what it is. The more we start thinking it in a completely different sense, then we're heading in the right direction. And then you start appreciating why the phone is just the ultimate device, because it's in your hand. You're in charge, no one else.
All right, thanks very much, guys. Can we have a round of applause for John and Marcus, please? Thank you.